if you do all of those things, I think you can be whoever the fuck you want to be in like 18 months.
Hey guys, welcome back to Be the Standard. Today I have a very special guest, Rebecca Rouse. She is a competitive weightlifter. She's a strength and conditioning coach, entrepreneur, co-founder of MCHN Strength, and she's also infamously known for never taking the escalator in an airport. She walks everywhere and climbs every step, always. Welcome.
Thank you. I love that. I love that that's something I'm now known for.
You are.
I'm not mad about it.
You are. And it's funny because every time I see an escalator in an airport now, I think of you.
Think you.
And then I take it.
Perfect. I was going to say, as long as you didn't say, oh, then I go take the...
No, I have had to do that. It was funny. I think I might have even texted you about it a couple weeks ago when I was here. One of the escalators was broken in one of the airports, and I had to take the steps. And I was like, fuck, Rebecca would love this. I have to take
conveniently
stairs.
converted into stairs.
Exactly.
I think there was a comedian that said that. It's like, escalators never break. They just turn into stairs. You
Exactly.
can still take it.
Exactly.
I'm disappointed. No, I was expecting you to say then you go take the stairs, and that's what I had in my head. And then you said, no, I take the escalator. So now I'm disappointed.
Sometimes I'll take the steps. If the escalator is jammed up, I'll just say screw it, and I'll take the steps. But welcome.
Thank you.
So I don't even know where to get started because you do so many different things. But where are you from? Where'd you grow up?
I grew up in Southern California, LA area.
LA?
Yeah.
No kidding. I'm guessing you were an athlete your entire life.
Age 3 is when I started.
What'd you do?
Gymnastics.
Gymnastics. So how did that transition? So you did that all through like high school, everything?
Until high school. Started at 3 and competed up until I started competing at 7, and then I did gymnastics up until basically right before my freshman year of high school, until age 15.
Nice. Did you play any other sports?
In high school, I did 2 years of cheerleading.
Okay.
Which everyone's surprised about usually when they hear that about me, but I did it because I had no experience in any other sport. I didn't want to do regular PE. I didn't know how to throw or catch a ball. Don't ever throw a ball at me. I will not catch it. So I was like, what can I do? I can take the gymnastic skills that I've developed over my whole childhood and cheerleading. There was no gymnastics team in high school, so I did cheerleading so I could still tumble and do all the backflips and stuff, and then that was it.
Nice. So how did that, what'd you do after high school? You went to college or?
Yep, went to college.
Where'd you go?
University of Maryland.
Nice. Did you do like any of that stuff? Like any athletics there, or weightlifting? Did you keep doing that? Or?
There was a recreational gymnastics club, not the competitive team, not the NCAA team, but there was a recreational gymnastics club. I did that for 1 year.
Okay.
And then I found the weight room.
Nice. So how did that happen? How did you go from just gymnastics to saying like, I'm going to start this weightlifting journey? And obviously it's suited you well and you've done extremely, well with it. So how did that happen where you went from gymnastics and backflips and all these other things to like, I want to throw some heavy weight around?
Well, it didn't start off as throwing heavy weight around, but I built up to that eventually. It was an ex-boyfriend of mine in my senior year of high school who worked at the gym. So after 2 years of cheerleading, I joined a gym. My parents were members of this gym, and when I didn't do a sport anymore, they were like, well, you can join the gym. So they got me a gym membership, but although I was athletic, having done gymnastics for so many years, I didn't know how to lift weights. Gymnastics is an all-body weight sport.
Sure.
So I joined the gym, and I became friends with some of the personal trainers, and then I met a guy there that worked there, and we started dating. He showed me a couple of exercises, and then the trainers that I got to know there showed me a couple of exercises, and I started just going and doing things on my own and really enjoyed it. And I had good body awareness. I had a good base of strength and mobility and just everything I had developed from gymnastics. I just didn't know how to apply it until I had somebody show me how. Yeah. So I did that for basically my junior and senior year of high school. Then I went off to college. And at the time, this was 2009, there were not a lot of women in the weight room. Sure. I mean, I think I can count on one hand how many other females were lifting weights at that time. Happy to see that's different now. Yeah. But I just started going and doing the things I knew how to do at the time. I went to bodybuilding.com, was kind of like how I learned a lot of stuff, which exercises work, which muscle groups, and just going and doing my 5-day split or whatever it was, getting stronger. I fell in love with the process of lifting weights and seeing my body change, feeling stronger, gaining muscle. And then nutrition came a little later, kind of figured out how it all fits together. And then I just fell in love with it. That's where I met Joel. And
oh, really?
Yeah, the rest is history.
So you guys met in college? Mm-hmm. Nice. So, because I think I saw that he went to Maryland also.
Yep.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. So how did it turn into you're in the weight room, you're learning how to work out, you're starting to do different movements, and you're starting to recognize that your body responds well to it. You add nutrition into that, and you start to see how those things really work well together when you really dial both of those things in. When did you decide you wanted to compete, and how did that process look?
I came way later. I graduated
Sure.
college in 2013, and my first job out of college was personal training. So I just kind of went from going through my own fitness journey, starting my own fitness journey, learning about how the body responds to different types of training, different modalities, and then I got certified as a personal trainer. Thought that this kind of coincides with Joel's journey of military training and all this, but we were moving around a bunch, and he was going off to 29 Palms, which, if anyone knows, there's nothing there. It's a desert military base, and that's about it. So I didn't go with him, and I knew he was going to be there for a year, so I was like, what am I going to do for a year until we move again? So I became a personal trainer, thinking that would be kind of my short-term thing, and then I fell in love with it, and I'm still doing that today, one of many things. But so the gym that I worked there for 6.5 years, and moved a couple times, stayed with that gym, and then just different locations as we moved around the country. And then I decided when I was 27 years old, I just got the urge to compete again, because I had been on my own journey gaining, different types of attributes in the gym, strength, endurance, mobility, power, hypertrophy, just training for all these different things. And I thought back to my childhood and all the years I competed in gymnastics, and I don't know what it was. I think I just wanted something to focus on for myself, because I poured myself into my work.
Sure.
I was a personal trainer and a personal training manager, so I managed a team of 50 trainers, and I saw myself giving away to everybody else. And I would still get my workouts in, but I was like, if I focus on training for something myself, then I'll have my own goals to work toward in conjunction with all the other things that I'm doing and how much I'm giving to everybody else around me. So I hired one of the trainers on my team that I was managing, a team of 50 trainers. One of the trainers was a weightlifting specialist. He was a competitor and a coach for Olympic weightlifting. And he became a friend of mine, and I told him I was looking to compete in something. I just didn't know what. I wanted it to be strength related. I was really into kettlebells at the time, but there isn't really a kettlebell competition that's related to strength. There is a kettlebell sport, which is more of an endurance type of kettlebell competition, and that really wasn't what I wanted to do. I wanted to focus on strength. And he said, just with your gymnastics background, the amount of strength you have, the body awareness, the mobility that you have, you would be an amazing weightlifter. Love to get you into weightlifting. And so I hired him. We trained for like 8 or 9 months before I entered my first competition, and that was in 2019. And here we are 7 years later.
No kidding. So did you ever get into like the CrossFit stuff? Did you ever do any of that?
Not till much, much later.
Okay.
Weightlifting is part of CrossFit, so
Right.
a lot of people know of Olympic weightlifting because CrossFit helped popularize it, but
Sure.
I was all strength and no endurance, very much still the case. I'm a little better now, but CrossFit was something I didn't dabble into the last couple of years.
Gotcha. Because I've noticed in like the competitions that you do, like you're doing front flips and all this.
Yeah,
like,
so that's something different. That's called the United Grid League. I compete in that as well.
what is that about? Because I watched that and I'm like, holy shit.
Yeah.
Like obviously I've actually done CrossFit competitions and stuff myself. I did CrossFit for about 5 years and liked it, enjoyed it, was pretty decent at it. But when I saw the stuff that you were doing online and you're doing front flips and like all kinds of shit, I'm like, what is this? And then I just started looking into it. I was like, wow. Tell me about that.
That is the United Grid League. I'm currently in my second season as a grid athlete, and it is, at first glance, it looks a lot like CrossFit because a lot of the movements that you see done on the grid are also done in CrossFit, but it is a team sport, and it's played with large teams like, a football team or a basketball team like that size, and men and women play together on the same team. So men and women play together, men and women go against each other, depending on, it's always one team versus the other. So, and the objective is to move down the grid in a series of relay races that are very fast. Anywhere from 30 seconds to 4 minutes is the longest race. And sometimes it's 1v1. Most of the time it's a group of people going against a group of people on the other team, and there's a lot of strategy involved. It's very fun. It's very fast.
Yeah.
And it's very different than weightlifting. I get to utilize the weightlifting skills and strength that I've developed from the last 7 years of weightlifting on the grid, but I also get to tap into some of the gymnastics that I have from way back in childhood and mix it all together and do all the things.
Yeah, man, I was just watching that. It looks just very highly competitive, obviously, and if you're going to do it, of course, it's highly competitive. But I always wondered about the strategy piece of it because when I was looking at it, I'm like, because I wonder if, like, do you know the events that you're going to do prior, and then you can kind of strategize around who's going to do what?
Yep, the coach has a very big task in deciding who's doing what, because you also have to factor in who's going to be the fastest at that thing, but also who's the most consistent, because if you could be fast, but if you get a lot of faults, like a lot of no reps, then that that eats up time.
Yeah.
So you need to be clean, you need to be consistent, and then you also have to factor in fatigue because one whole match has 11 races, and the fatigue accumulates throughout each race.
Yeah.
So no one's going to be in all 11 races, but if, last match, I think I was in 7 races out of 11. So I was very tired by the end.
Oh my God.
But sometimes I'm in, 4, and
Sure.
it'll just depend. So
Okay.
a lot of moving pieces.
How is that structured? That's a national type thing?
It's a
And
national league.
How is that structured in terms of like how often do you compete, and like is it like a tournament style, or what's that look like?
Yeah, there's this regular season, and then we just finished the regular season, so it's a short season. There's only 4 matches in the regular season, and then there's a playoff match and a championship match. So it's a fairly small league. This year there's 8 teams. Next year there's going to be 10. So it's growing across the country. But it started out in Florida, and then last season it moved out of Florida. It was called the Florida Grid League. Now it's United Grid League. And there's 4 regular season matches, playoffs, and championships. So we made the playoffs. We compete in August 23rd.
Where's that?
In Florida.
In Florida. Wow. Yeah, no, that's impressive. I've seen it, obviously. Nick was at one of them, wasn't he?
Yeah,
recently?
Nick came into our match in Tampa.
Nice. So you're a military spouse?
I am.
He's been in 20 years almost?
Just hit 20.
Just hit 20. He's got another year left or so.
Yep.
How's that?
It's exciting.
Yeah.
It's all the things. I mean, it's all we've known. He's been in 20 years. We've been together 14.
Wow.
So as long as I've known him, he's been in the Marine Corps, and so it's been a huge part of our life. He's very intentional about the Marine Corps is something that he does. It's part of him, but it's not his whole identity. And I think that's a trap a lot of veterans fall into.
Huge. That's huge, and it's especially that mindset and him not understanding that is going to be most relevant when he's out.
Yes.
Because that's when you're really like, okay, who am I now?
Yeah.
Like I had that issue. I'm like, I'm no longer Denny the soldier,
Yep.
the infantry guy anymore. I'm just a regular dude in like society here now. Like, what do I do?
Yeah.
So, wow. Yeah. So he's almost retired.
He is.
And
but the last, 5 years since we started our business, and he's gotten into some other stuff, real estate investing and some side jobs and projects and things. So I think that's going to help him have an easier transition than some who wear the uniform and then like take it off and then they're starting fresh. But he's been kind of getting himself ready for that transition.
Sure.
So I know it'll still be challenging. I told him he's going to have an identity crisis. We'll see what happens. He says that he's a Marine, but it's not his whole identity, but it is a very big part of it. It's how he spends so much of his time.
Sure.
And we'll see. It's given a lot of purpose and a lot of growth over the last 20 years, a lot of opportunities.
Yeah.
And so we'll see what happens.
That's cool. That's exciting. Talk to me about Semper Stronger. Is it Semper? No. What's the nonprofit you started? Is that it?
Semper Stronger Foundation.
Okay. What is that, and how did that start?
So that started back in 2023 was when we started the nonprofit, and the catalyst for starting it happened in 2022. So Joel, when he was in Iraq in 2007, his vehicle was hit by an IED, and multiple vehicle convoy. I'm sure he'll tell you the story when he records with you later, but he was ejected from the IED, ended up with traumatic brain injury, shrapnel, blown eardrums, all the stuff that one would expect from having that type of blast go off. And he was, fine, in quotations.
Sure.
He was young at the time, 22 at the time. And so they put him back in, finished his deployment, did more deployments, continued on his Marine Corps career. But then 15 years later, it all came to fruition. And we came to find out that was actually fairly common with when guys would get blown up when they were young, and then they'd be like fine, and then many years later, things would surface. And so he ended up with a whole slew of issues down his left side, and came to find out it was from the nerve damage and the spinal compression that had occurred from that blast. And so he ended up with pain, immense amount of pain, numbness, tingling, weakness, atrophy, and then all down his left arm. His arm shrunk like to half the size that it was because the nerve just stopped firing. And he ended up having a full disc replacement at C6, C7, and then went through traumatic brain injury treatment at a functional neurology clinic near where we live in Dallas. And it was unbelievable to see how they addressed the actual problem, which was the brain injury, because so many, as we all know, there's a lot of treatment for veterans that involves taking this medication, going to this talk therapy, which is all fine. Like, there's a place for all of it, but there are so many veterans that come back from deployment with brain injury, and you can't see it, but the symptoms are there if you look for them. And they're ignored, they're written off as something different, and people are largely not addressing the root cause, which is TBI. And so to watch him go through this TBI treatment right after his surgery and get all this good quality care from professionals who truly care and want to help veterans heal, actually heal, not just put Band-Aids on symptoms, it was amazing to see how the transformation in 2 weeks. So fast forward, while he was going through that program, it's all addressing the brain, healing the brain from the inside. He asked the doctors, functional neurologists that work at the clinic, if they had any aspect of the program that involved the body, training the body, connecting the brain and body, because obviously they're very intertwined. And they said no, but they were looking for the right person to lead that and develop that. And he said, let me introduce you to my wife. And I had a conversation with the head doctor who runs the clinic, and fast forward 2 months, by December of 22, we were part of that program. I developed a curriculum from scratch that I felt would be, just with the knowledge that I have, I'm obviously not a neurologist, I'm a strength and conditioning coach.
Yeah.
But I understand functional movement is how I approach training, and looking at the body as systems, multiple systems, all connected. And so I developed this curriculum and implemented it into the program. And here we are in middle of 2025, we're still part of that program. And so we started our nonprofit to basically fund that portion, because the program for veterans that treats the TBIs is fully funded by nonprofits. The veterans pay nothing out of pocket. There's a handful of nonprofits that fund that treatment for veterans all across the country, post 9/11 combat vets. And so as to not take away funding from that part of the treatment, we developed our own nonprofit that funds the physical movement component, the curriculum that I created, to remain a part of that program. And that's what we're still doing today. It's primarily how we use our funds, as well as other ways to help veterans and first responders heal from injuries that they sustain in the line of duty.
Nice. That's awesome, because, one of the things that you said that I liked, it's like when you first go to the VA, it's always like, well, have you tried this medication or try this medication? I'm going to set you up to talk to somebody. And that's what they always do. It's always the same path in the beginning. It's, talk to this person, take this medication, and that's what they did with me. But I mean, thankfully I didn't have a TBI. It was just mental stuff for me. And it was like, here's how we're going to address this now. And I was like, this isn't working. Yeah. None of these medications are working. And, trying to find the right balance of with medication over time was just exhausting. Because they give you 10 different things, and they're like, well, try this. Oh, that didn't work. Try this. That didn't work. Try this.
Yep.
And
then you get medications to take to help with the symptoms and side effects of the other medications, and then you create more problems. I've heard the story so many times.
Yeah, and, I've said this before. Jesus. I've said this before, and the best thing I ever did, and I don't recommend this to people, is, I just stopped taking medication. I just, kicked all of it cold turkey, which is obviously not the best way to do it. And I tell people not to do that. But I feel like that's when I started functioning at my highest level was, no more medication, just do all these other things like meditating and journaling and breath work and, that sort of stuff. And that's where I've kind of found my peace is outside of, those clinical arenas, with the exception of therapy. I still do that, and I'll always do that. But, I love the work that you're doing in terms of the TBI stuff, because I've seen that with friends of mine and people that I know where the symptoms, they start to catch up much later than when the initial injury happens.
Sure.
So yeah, no, that's good that you're doing what you're doing there. Now you're also an entrepreneur. Tell me how you got into that journey, because that's not an easy journey.
It's not.
Being an entrepreneur is a kick in the nuts nonstop, and it doesn't stop. And you really have to have a lot of grit and, passion for what you're doing. So tell me about how you got into that.
It started pretty much out of necessity, because as I mentioned earlier, I was working at a gym, and then COVID hit, and I was living in San Diego at the time. So everyone knows California was the last place to reopen anything.
Sure.
And so we all got furloughed, and we're told that we don't know how long this is going to go on, but we don't have any money to keep paying you. And so stand by, and we will let you know when the gyms reopen. You guaranteed you can get your job back, but we just don't know when that will be. And I was like, cool. That lasted about a month, and I was like, I'm not just going to wait for someone to tell me my fate. I'm going to go figure it out myself.
Yeah.
And that's when I started the business. So I had a lot more time I was spending 10 to 12 hours a day at the gym. I loved my job. I loved being in the gym. I loved working with like-minded people. I loved leading a team of trainers. I loved all of it. I loved San Diego, but I had to figure it out. And so now that I wasn't spending 10 to 12 hours a day in the gym, I had way more time to figure it out. And that's what, and Joel happened to, at the time, his duty station was a college campus. He was the Marine Officer Instructor at Rutgers University, which also shut down and everything went remote.
Yeah.
So we had this beautiful time together to spend all day, every day inside of our little apartment and figure it out. And so we started to research, how do you start a business? How do you create the LLC and do the trademark and the logo and the branding? And we just did it all, basically bootstrapped the whole thing and figure out how to start that. It's a fitness business, obviously. Like it's since evolved into what it is now. But at the time, we tried probably 7, 8 different training apps so we could white label our app and have everything in our app. So built programs, workouts, eventually started a membership, had one-on-one coaching, because all I had done up to that point was personal training. So I was like, how can I create something online, since everybody was moving online anyway, to do what I know how to do, which is train clients. And so that's how it started out, as one-on-one coaching. Then we added some programs that people could follow on their own. Thankfully, it worked out really well. Kettlebells, I was doing kettlebells before COVID hit, and everybody found kettlebells during that time because you could use them at home. You didn't need to go to a gym. But I had been doing kettlebells since 2014. That's when I got my first kettlebell certification and started dabbling. So I had a pretty good knowledge base of kettlebell training and really started there. And that was before I got into weightlifting. And so I built a whole library of different workouts and programs and tutorials on how to use the kettlebell. And then that's really how I started building my social media following, kind of unintentionally, just by accident. People were liking the kettlebell workouts because everybody was doing them at the time, and people started saving them and sharing them and doing them, and the feedback was great. And then I started just adding more kettlebell workouts to my Instagram, and that's kind of how it all started. But yeah, that was how entrepreneur life began. And every day, as you mentioned, it's a grind, and it's a kick in the nuts.
It's funny, man, because when I think about COVID, the first thing that comes to mind is the people who are in the fitness industry and the restaurant industry.
Yeah.
They were basically told, like, fuck you, like, you can't earn a living now.
Yeah. But meanwhile, the liquor stores were open.
The liquor stores were open.
I digress.
Walmart's open. Like, all the minions can go to work.
Yep.
And you can get your alcohol and whatever. But, the gyms, the restaurants, like, sorry, guys, you guys can't earn a living. And how many people lost their livelihood over that? That's what I think of initially when I think of COVID, and it makes me so frustrated. Because I remember scrambling trying to find weights to get at my house.
Yep.
And luckily I had a buddy who was like, Denny, I have an extra bench and all these weights, and he sold them to me very cheap. And I was able to work out during COVID. But yeah, it was just, what a time. And what a time for the fitness industry, where an industry that should be prioritized, heavily, especially during health crisis, I think, was essentially shut down. So that was just, it blows my mind what that did to the country at the time, especially that industry.
Yeah, it was quite a time to live through.
Yeah. So you did the kettlebell workouts online. You have a great following. Is that how you built that up, essentially?
That's how it
during
started.
That time?
Definitely how it started. And then my athletic journey pivoted from kettlebells into weightlifting.
Yep.
And I still did some kettlebell stuff, but I'm the type of creator, Instagram, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
I don't really think of myself as a creator, but I guess I am. If you have a following and you put stuff on Instagram, you're a creator. But for me, it's always been, and still is to this day, a way for me to document my fitness journey, my athletic journey.
Yeah.
I know a lot of people use it for different reasons. People do their Instagram content over here, and then they go and do their actual workout. But like, that's never been me. My content is what you see on Instagram is literally what I did for my workout that day.
Yeah.
I don't create separate workouts for Instagram.
That's a thing?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Joel does it.
Oh, does he?
We talk to him about it. I call him out all the time. And it's fine. Like, we approach it differently. I think of him as a true Instagram creator. He knows his followers. He knows what they want.
Yeah.
He knows what gets likes and saves and shares. I don't look at the analytics ever.
Yeah.
I have no idea what people
I don't
save
either.
and share.
I don't either. I post, and then I'm like, I hide the likes because I don't want to know how many people like it. I don't go and look. I don't care.
Yeah.
I post it,
and he's very into, I'm like you, he's very into looking at what do the people want? And then he goes and creates that. I don't do that. One, it just doesn't, I don't know. I create what I want to create. I put my workouts on it. So like I'm always training for my next event, whatever it is. People seem to have followed me and liked it. And from the beginning, but there's a lot of people that have been following me for many, many years as my journey has evolved, and like they like what I put on, and it's very authentic. And not to say that Joel's not authentic, like he knows his stuff when it comes to the kettlebell, but
he's the only one I've seen do the stuff that he does with the kettlebell.
Yeah,
but
it's very unique. He's very niche with his following, and he mixes in the military stuff and all that. But I post what I'm doing that day for my workout, what I'm training for my next competition, or what I'm eating, whatever. It's like that's literally what I'm doing at that time. I don't repost old content. I know a lot of people do that, so different approaches.
Yeah, no, and they're both effective, right? Because you guys continue to grow a following. You guys have this business. I kind of want to transition to that now. Like, now you're co-founder of MCHN Strength. How did that come about? Because that's pretty recent, right? Last 6 months or so?
Yeah, earlier this year.
Awesome.
So our business that we founded in 2020 was called Semper Stronger.
Yeah.
And obviously that's still the name of our nonprofit. So we had the business, we had the nonprofit. And then over the last couple of years, Nick and I have started working together in a couple different avenues. Started out with public speaking, and he kind of mentored me as I grew up into the public speaking world. And he knew what my business was, what our business was. And then he kind of, over the years, we spent more time working together and getting to know our vision and goals for the future. And he started to develop Team Machine and Precision Components. And as he shared one day with me what his kind of 5 to 10 year vision was, or is, it became clear that if we both continued down our respective trajectories, we would likely eventually become competitors. And like obviously fitness is a very big part of his life, and he had a vision to add that as a component to his companies. And so I think we both recognize that if you want to go far, go together, right?
Yeah.
If you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. So we just cut to it, and we were like, let's just join forces now. And so we did, and the process was lengthy. We're still kind of undergoing it right now, but we decided to merge. And so he absorbed our company into Precision Components, under which Team Machine falls, and then we have MCHN Strength and all the other ones. So we rebranded and went from Semper Stronger to MCHN Strength. Right now, functionally, everything's the same, but we have big plans and that's why I'm here in Tennessee right now.
Love it.
For our meeting tomorrow, our workshop, to kind of talk about our next 3 to 6 months, and then our next 3 to 5 years and beyond. So excited for the future. Starting a business was hard. Rebranding a business was arguably just as hard. It was a lot of work, a lot of hurdles, a lot of obstacles that we did not expect.
Sure.
But we're doing it, and it's been great.
That's awesome. So you do the speaking for Precision Components as well.
Mm-hmm.
I'm also a speaker for them. I noticed you do a lot with law enforcement and veterans, and obviously, how do you like speaking?
I love it.
Do you?
It's terrifying. It's exciting. It's challenging. I really started it. It was actually kind of because of Nick. He asked me. I told Sydney first. This is probably, when was this? 2023. I had dinner with Sydney. They were in Texas for one of Nick's engagements.
Yeah.
And at the time, I didn't really have speaking on my radar. I just knew I wanted to make a bigger impact. I was like, I have a social media following. I don't remember how many followers I had at the time, probably like 150K or something, maybe 100K. And I was like, it's cool to have influence on the internet, but like I want to have impact in real life. Yeah. And it's really cool because I have a lot of friends, Nick being one of them, a lot of veterans who are either still in the military or recently out, who have gone and done a lot of big things. And most of the people with whom I surround myself are in the tactical space of some kind. I think part of that's because of Joel, part of that's because of me, and the people I've chosen to surround myself with. But I was watching these people grow and make lots of impact, both on the internet and in real life. And I was like, how can I bridge that gap? And this was around the time Nick and I started getting to know each other better. And I saw that he was speaking and going to lead seminars for different groups of people. And that really piqued my interest. And I told that to Sydney when we were having dinner. And then, I don't remember, like 2 weeks later, 3 weeks later, Nick called me. And he said, hey, Sydney told me you were interested in maybe getting into speaking or doing something, different, bigger, something on the internet. And I wanted to know if that's something you really want to take seriously, because I'm happy to help you get there. And we can make it happen. And I was trembling, I was shaking at the time. I was so nervous that Nick, someone as successful and renowned as Nick, would present that opportunity to me, but I would be so stupid to say no. So I was like, yeah, I'm interested. And then a month later, it was Memorial Day weekend. he texted me and said, so it was May of 23. He texted me and said, November, whatever the date was, November 20 something, I got an engagement for a law enforcement conference. I want to bring you with me. Do you think you can be ready by then to give a talk? And I was like, yes. Every fiber of my existence wanted to say no because I didn't think I could be. So, but I said, of course I said yes.
Of course.
And then the next week I joined Toastmasters, which is a public speaking development group. And 6 months later, I spoke to 600 people.
Wow. 600 people.
My first one was 600 people.
Oh my God.
Yeah. Talk about trial by fire.
Oh my God. Your first one.
Yep. Very first one.
Wow. I still haven't done one with 600 people. I think my first one was maybe 80 people, and I was scared. And similar to you, like I had been putting content out on Instagram and just kind of sharing my story through the podcast. And I had somebody reach out to me on LinkedIn and say, "Hey, Denny, your story is pretty amazing. Like, would you want to come speak for our company?" And I'm like, never done it before. And so I went there. I spoke down in New Jersey, and then it went well. I was nervous as hell. You could probably – I remember watching it back, actually. You could, like, hear it in my voice that I was nervous, and I was like, that doesn't sound like me.
Yep. That's
how I knew the nerves were there. But then they hired me, like, a few more times. And then similarly to you, I met Nick at a veterans benefit last year where he was the keynote speaker. And right away, he knew I was from Massachusetts, that area. We hit it off. And he's like, let's get on a call later this week. So we did. And then same thing. He's like, hey, I'd like to bring you on as a speaker, because he knew I already did some of that.
Mm-hmm.
And I wasn't sure how much more of that I could do, like if I was really going to enjoy this speaking thing, because I was always nervous. I enjoy sharing my story, but same. Like, I'm not going to say no.
Yep.
Like, somebody like Nick says, hey, I want to bring you on the team. Like, you don't say no. And then also, he's like, I'd like to bring you into the Forge to be a leadership coach. And I'm like, when I get into this, the first thing I said to myself was the last thing I want to do is get into any kind of coaching. I feel like the fitness coaching is just watered down with people who aren't legitimate. Not like yourself.
No,
you guys are obviously
100%. I agree.
very legitimate.
And people have a hard time these days discerning between the two.
And that's the problem.
Which is a problem.
Like, anybody can put any bullshit out there online. Hey, look, I look like this.
Yep.
You can too. And it's like, you can't. Like, let's be honest about what you're really putting in your body, first of all.
Yep.
So there's that component of it. And I just never wanted to even touch that arena. But to be associated with, like, the Forge kind of legitimized it. And I was like, yeah, I'll do that. Right? Yep. I'll do that because Nick's involved, and there's a really solid team of high performers. And, yeah, this coaching wasn't ever going to be a thing for me, but here I am. And but the speaking's fun. I just did one for the SEAL Family Legacy over in Iowa, and that one was pretty cool. That was all veterans, and that was probably the best one yet. So, but yeah, that was only 200 people, 215 people, but that was my biggest one.
That's significant.
Yeah, that's a lot. That's a large room. So 600 for your first one, I can't even imagine that. That's wild to me.
It was wild. Yes.
But yeah, no, I appreciate you coming in and talking with me. And what are you guys doing next?
In terms of
business, life. You said you just moved out of the city, more into the suburbs.
About
Dallas?
a year ago.
Nice.
Yeah, so not just, but it still feels new.
Yeah.
Yeah, we moved just to get a little bit more space, get out of the city, not be on top of our neighbors, and just have some peace and quiet. And it was one of the best decisions just for my own personal energy and how I feel when I wake up in the morning. And it was a great change.
That's awesome.
So yeah, I'm continue. What we're here in Tennessee for is to workshop tomorrow with Nick and the team, and really talk about strategically and tactically, like what does the short term look like? What does the long term look like? How are we gonna make it happen? What are the timelines? What are the must-dos? Just really get the things moving into place.
Yeah.
And then I got actually the Q3, Q4 is gonna be really heavy on speaking engagements for me. I think I've got 6 or 7.
Oh wow.
Yeah. And then competing, I've got the grid playoffs. I've got USA Masters World Championships for weightlifting in September, and onward and upward in all the areas.
Yeah. So obviously the podcast is called Be the Standard. Obviously, following you and your husband and everything you're doing with business and your personal life and everything. Obviously, you hold yourself to some pretty high standards. Tell the viewers about what those standards look like and the importance of having significant standards for yourself.
I think that, let's start with what the standards are. I think leading by example is essential, especially if you're going to have a business, you're going to be a leader, you're going to speak to people, you're going to have an Instagram following, any of those things. Be who you say you are, do the things you say you're going to do, own your mistakes when you make them, being true to, being who I am in person is the same as who I am on the internet. I met a lot of people for whom that's not the case, and that's really unfortunate. So I think that those are important to us, or to me. And what was the second part of the question?
I was just going to say the importance of having standards.
Importance of having standards. I think without them, it's you're never going to reach your potential.
Yeah.
It's who you following through. Follow through is one of my big things.
Yeah.
If you say you're going to do something, do it. If you can't do it, own it. And that goes with who you are and what you do.
Yeah. So I interviewed Kate Hastings. Mm-hmm. She's on Team Machine as well, obviously. And she said something that I loved, and it was, if you don't set high standards for yourself, you'll suffer the consequences of not having standards.
Yeah.
And I was like, that was probably one of the best ways I've ever heard it put, and that's kind of the way I put it now, and I kind of stole that from her. But
I like that.
Yeah, that's pretty good. And yeah, no, so I appreciate you coming on. Where can people find you?
Instagram is, as far as social media goes, is where I spend the most time. Rebecca.Rouse. And then we have our MCHN Strength Instagram. That's for the business, all things fitness programming, resources, training, all that stuff. And then MCHNstrength.com. That's where the good stuff is.
Outstanding. Yeah, so there you have it. Rebecca Rouse. Again, can't thank you enough for coming on. Appreciate you.
Thank you.